am so sorry, first of all. On QuickTime, you can select start new recording. Well, I did, at the appropriate time. However, there's another red button you're supposed to push, so it like opened something, but it wasn't recording.
Oh, okay. This is your blended learning opportunity to integrate technology to
I
your.
love you, Asia. Oh my God. I'll make this quick and painless.
Sure, of course.
It's only supposed to be like a 3-minute little video. So,
No worries.
anyhow.
What's up?
Um, so the questions we were talking about whether you're familiar with blended learning, and you were talking about how in the classroom that they are able to use their iPads and go online for projects and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in our classroom, a majority of the time the iPads are used with student-directed projects. So if they want to learn more about a particular subject, or if they want to do an in-depth investigation into something, or watch a YouTube video about something that they're studying. For example, if we did a unit on Martin Luther King and they want to hear the I Have a Dream speech, they can go online and watch the YouTube video of the actual speech versus reading it just on a piece of paper, which doesn't have, Dr. King's inflections and his passion, and, kind of gives you a different perspective on that content. Um, and so the children have the ability to kind of use that technology to gain better understandings of things if they're more of like a visual learner or an auditory learner or something like that.
okay. And then the the physical setup. You have stations at your school.
We have different stations. We have our library center, which has like our little reading nook with some different types of cushions and things for the kids to sit on. And then we have our math center, we have our language center, we have our geography center, our cultural center, and then we have botany, zoology, and science. So those
Wow.
are all different areas, and the children kind of move through the different areas depending on how they want to move through the area. I just give them like a series of assignments for the
Mm-hmm.
week, and they can move through the curriculum in whatever order you want. So my children who really enjoy math, they usually start with the math first,
Mm-hmm.
and then my children who don't enjoy math will save it till the very end. So I don't really care in what order it gets done as long as it gets done.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the ability to kind of to have some autonomy in the classroom as far as how
Do the
they
kids
plan.
like that? They can kind of move along at their own pace.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful for my children who, um, for example, like have a hard time holding attention to one thing for too long. Like
Uh,
they know they have the whole week to work on something, so for some reason they started something and then like my children who have really bad ADHD that can't finish it that day, they know they have tomorrow and the next day that they can still go back to that center and rework that assignment. Um, because my children who have problems with sustained attention, they can't sit at one center for too long, or they can't do a full 45 minutes of instruction in one subject because, their minds are working too quickly. So it allows for some adaptability for your children who have different learning needs,
mm-hmm.
that they have the autonomy to go to the different areas. So, and then if
And
they don't get everything done at the end of the week, we have a discussion about time management. And like,
oh,
where did we go wrong in our time management? How can we have better time management next week? What do you think that you can do to better manage your time? And sometimes I hear things like, well, I did talk a lot, or I really shouldn't sit next to that
really?
friend. And it helps them do some kind of self-discovery and some self-regulation skills.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's good to
and
teach
kind
them
of
to assess their selves.
Yeah, I think that's even something adults struggle with. Is being able to juggle a lot of things and to manage their time well. So if they can learn it, in an early childhood setting, when they get to be eligible to have a job at some point, they'll be a really great employee for a manager to have because they do have effective time management and they don't have to be micromanaged.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a skill they'll need for life. So
For sure. So with the blended learning, do you feel like you have a pretty good relationship with the kids then, and how does that affect you? I think you made
like I
mention
was
like you're kind of freed up a little bit and
Yeah, I'm freed up to do a lot more
not so
observation.
pressured.
Yeah, I don't really have to do a lot of large group instruction, and because everything's kind of individualized at our school, and because they're working on the projects themselves, I don't have to sit next to them while they watch a YouTube video on something. Like they're fully capable of doing that themselves. And so that frees me up to kind of observe them in their natural learning state and to take notes on like how do they Google more or do they
Oh.
watch more YouTube videos? So I may have a learner that needs to read. I may have a learner who needs to watch, and so that helps me as a teacher give them individualized instruction to help them be successful. And I think for that, my relationship with the children, is one of mutual respect because I understand that they have a learning need, and then I'm providing the right environment for them to learn it, and not trying to force them to learn in a way that their brains are ill-equipped to learn it.
That's really effective. You can get those formative assessments.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really is helpful to see them kind of show me how to teach them, essentially.
that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
for,
I really want to thank you for your time
of course.
um, again.
Of course, and
Um,
good luck. Let me know if you need anything else.
the only other thing that I was thinking to ask you is um, so the blended learning kind of plays into differentiating with those different learning styles. So I guess we kind of touched on that a little bit.
I think it's definitely helpful for teachers to understand that not everybody learns in the same way,
Hmm.
and that you do have children who need to have like that visual experience to actually grasp a concept. You may have a child who needs a kinesthetic experience to grab a concept. Some of my children are auditory learners. I think I told you I have a child who has a speech problem, a speech hearing problem in my classroom, and so if I were to use too many words talking, then he would not be able to grasp the subject matter. But if he can just read about it by himself, he gets way more out of that than my talking to him about a subject. And that's the way that he learns. And so I think for teachers, just gaining that understanding of how your student learns and then trying to tailor the way you approach them to in a way that's going to make them be successful, because then that just builds their self-esteem. Why would I continually give instruction in the wrong way to a child that it's not helping them to be successful just
Hmm.
because that's the norm or that's the status quo, or that's kind of how we blanket teach. But I don't that's not the type of teaching that I do, because I do a lot of individualized instruction, and I think that that is really what education needs to be, because there's all
Hmm.
different kinds of intelligences, there's all different kinds of
Yeah.
learners. And if you've ever read Mel Levine's All Kinds of Minds, for example,
Oh.
that book has just great examples of all the different ways that the human brain learns,
Hmm.
and different approaches teachers can take.
Sounds like something I need to check out.
Oh my gosh, it's a great book. Yeah, you can get it at any library. Mel Levine, he writes a lot of really great educational books. Also, Alfie Cohen is a great educational writer about individualized learning, and I love Alfie Cohen's
Oh,
on the human brain and how the human brain learns. He's another great
that's
great writer.
awesome. Well, I'll definitely check that out. So, as a one last question, as an administrator, I mean, this whole idea of having blended learning, how long have you been like using this model where kids, I mean, that's basically what Montessori is, right?
Right. Well, even before there was, the technology of having them use the iPads, everything that we have in our classroom is a didactic material that was created on Dr. Montessori's observation of how the human brain learns. And so our children have
Mm.
all kinds of experiences and all kinds of hands-on materials they can use to conceptualize abstract ideas,
Mm-hmm.
because there are some people who are really good at abstract thought, and there are people who are really good at concrete thought, but you can't teach them in a way that they're not going to learn, because then they just feel frustrated, they feel like they can't grasp the concept. You have a lot of children
Mm-hmm.
then who feel like they're dumb, or the curriculum's too hard, and then they have a lot of self-defeatist attitudes about school, and then you have those children who just give up on learning because, oh, school's too hard, I can't do it, everybody says I'm dumb, so I'm just not even going to try anymore. And that's the thing where me as a Montessori teacher, and what all Montessorians do, is I don't care if I have to give the child a lesson upside upside down and in Chinese to get them to understand it, I will find a way to get that content to that child.
So what's the have you seen like a pretty good success rate with, you know, letting the kids do these like research projects and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think they
They're
have
learning,
more
you know,
sustained
they're
attention and sustained concentration, especially when you let them choose the subject. So, for example, you know, we do a unit on mammals. So I just tell them, choose any mammal. Could be a human, could be a monkey, could be a zebra. Whatever mammal you want to do your report on, go ahead. And sometimes, you know, it leads them down this path to like, well, zebras are in the horse family. What else is in the horse family? And then they start learning about all these different kinds of animals all over the world. You know, just by giving them something as minor as, well, find a mammal that you find interesting. You know, it may lead them on this path of discovery of all of these different types of animals they may have never even thought about before. You know, so sometimes it's just opening that door to show them like, there's more here. You know, there's more that you can learn. It's not just, you know, what I give you. It's all these other things that you can find too. So that's, I think, the most important things for educators to do is to just show children that, you know, knowledge is sort of a door and you can take it as far as you want to go. And there's always more to learn, and that's what I always tell my kids at the end of any, you know, unit or project is, you know, this is really great work. You did fantastic work on this. I'm so proud of you. But I hope that you know, you understand that there's still more that can be done. There's more you can learn. There's more scientists are discovering, or there's more, you know, mathematicians are discovering, and you know, this is not the end answer to everything. You know, there's always more to learn, and there's always more to know. You know, even with science, I tell children, just because this is the prevailing theory right now, doesn't mean it will always be, because a long time ago, everybody thought the earth was flat, and they get a kick out of that one, because they're like, no, it's not, it's round, you know? So, but I tell them, no, a long time ago, people didn't think that. Like, every scientist thought the world was flat, and they're like, oh, you're kidding. You know, because to them it's such a foreign concept, but I mean, that's true. I mean, it was the prevailing concept at the time, and I tell them, you know, things are always changing. You know,
Well, I think that they're very lucky to have you both as a teacher and an administrator.
well, thank you.
You
I
have a
love what I
lot
do.
of work that you're doing there, you know.
Yeah, hopefully you can come by and check the school out sometime.
I will. And thank you so much for talking with me.
You're welcome. Good luck on your project.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Good night.